They hired someone new instead of promoting me, and now I have no motivation to work. Hi, everyone. It's been a few months now since this happened, but I can't get past this, and I guess I just want to get this off my chest in hopes that it'll help me get over it. Here we go. I've been working at the same company for over 6 years. The company is medium-sized, I would say, and at the time I was hired, we didn't have a marketing department. With time, the company grew, and after 1 year of working there, they offered I be the one to kickstart the marketing department. I accepted. For 2 years, I was the only person in the marketing department. I did everything all by myself. I knew how everything worked. I kept my numbers and quality high, that my manager even asked my boss to give me a bonus for my hard work. As the company grew, the work became too much for just one person, so they gave me a team. We were now 4 in total. I trained and pretty much lead the team, but the thing is, my title never went past marketing agent. I thought that with all the things I'm doing, I'd at least get marketing manager by now. I expressed this to my manager, who said that they'll see what can be done. Months passed, my title remained the same, but then in a meeting with my manager one day, they told me that our boss is thinking that there should be a marketing team lead on the team. They said that they think it's going to be me, as I started off the department, trained everyone, have the most knowledge, and have been in the company for 6 years now. Obviously, I got excited hearing that, and I patiently waited for boss to finally drop the news to me. The news ended up being that they were looking for a marketing team lead, and they decided to hire externally. I can't even put into words the way I felt. Even now, I still feel like I've been punched in the gut. It feels so unfair and humiliating. I was the first person in the marketing department. I have the most experience. Why would you hire someone with 0 experience instead? I asked my manager why I wasn't considered for it, and their response was basically just, "Boss just couldn't see you being a team lead." Hearing that seriously killed my self-esteem and made me feel even more humiliated. They eventually hired the person to take on the team lead role, and what made me want to slam my head against the wall is that they made me train them on everything I knew. Listen, the new team lead is a nice person, and I really don't want to hate them because it's not their fault. But my bitterness is so strong, I just don't even want to interact with them unless they need help. So now, I'm stuck being marketing agent forever, I guess. But what really drove me to write this on Reddit is the new team member. One person on the team left and was replaced with someone else, who just started last month. The team lead is on vacation, so I was the one asked to train the new hire. As I was training them, we talked and I told them a little about myself, about how I started the department and everything. And then they said, "So, all that just to not be team lead." And that honestly just pissed me off. I don't know if it's their wording, their tone, or the look of pity on their face that got to me, but I just shut down. I laughed it off, finished up with training, and just barely worked the whole day. And the day after that. Even now, I feel like my numbers are lower than usual. My quality definitely dropped, but I just can't care anymore. I know I could just quit, but this company's benefits are amazing, and I've made so many friends here that would make leaving so hard. Traveling for work every few months allowed me to see different cities and take in new experiences. But I just can't get past this, and I don't know if I ever will. I might just go through the days until I really just can't do it anymore. If you've read up until this point, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, and I really hope this situation never happens to you. Edit. Hi again, everyone. I just want to thank you all for your advice. You've all been very helpful, and you've all given me the confidence to send my resume to other companies for a team lead or manager position. I'll be sending my resume to more as they pop up. The market is terrible right now, but I am pretty confident. Now I just have to act like normal in this current position until I hear from one of them. Wish me luck. For those wondering how I trained the new team lead, I did not teach them everything I knew. Hell no. I taught them enough to do their job, but when it comes to the deeper knowledge, I held back. I personally just thought it was the smartest decision for me, as teaching them all I knew wouldn't have benefited me at all. It's up to my company to teach them everything else, not keep relying on me. When I was asked to train the new hire, I did mention that I shouldn't train them if we have a team lead. But boss hit back saying that I would be responsible if the team fell behind if we waited until the team lead got back from vacation. I didn't want to cause stress for the rest of the team and myself, so I stupidly complied. I did consider threatening to leave if I didn't get the team lead role, but I held back because I was afraid of the response law. I was afraid they would have just let me go and I'd be left unemployed without a backup job, especially considering the job market right now. But I guess my pride also played a part in it. I really wanted to be given the team lead role because they believed in me, wanted to give it to me, not because I threatened them. I also do quite like my job, so I thought I could suck it up. But it's really not worth the mental suffering. Huge thanks again for reading my ramblings. Have a great one, guys. Update. So, I got a job as marketing team lead, just finished week 3. The market is rough right now, but I'm glad I didn't give up and just kept applying. My new job's a little challenging, but my mental health is in a better place now knowing I could finally, fully let go of that grudge. If you're in a similar situation, don't lose hope. When I gave in my notice, I would pay just to see the look on my boss' face again when I told them I was leaving for a marketing team lead job. They tried to salary match, but I declined. They asked what they could do to keep me, but I kept it polite and just said that it was time for me to experience more in a different role now. I could tell they were really pissed, but I couldn't care less lol. And then apparently they talked smack about me to the manager, that I was betraying them and all that BS. It's so embarrassing, Almao. Of course, before I left, I asked my manager what I needed to improve on to be a better team lead so I can do even better in my new role. I was told things like be a little more strict, have more confidence, and other things I made sure to write down to work on. And I know it's been months, but I still wanted to ask again why I was passed up the promotion at this company. So apparently it's because they made it so that the team lead did more admin work, more team reports, team evaluations, team decisions, and coming up with new procedures, and less marketing. Apparently, since I'm the most senior with consistent results, they didn't want to lose that by making me team lead. So they figured keeping me as a marketing agent was the smartest move for the company. I fully understand their decision, but screw that Elmao. I feel like I'm actually doing what a team lead should be doing in my new company, and that's all I really wanted. It just feels like they're still trying to figure out what a team lead should do, and I'm not willing to stick around for that again. Thank you again, everyone, for encouraging me to look for another job. I got way too comfortable in my last job that I allowed them to walk all over me. You aren't handcuffed to a certain company forever. It's okay to leave when you feel there's no more growth for you. Have a great one, everyone. Next story. I've been spending time with a good friend more recently, but I think he's only doing it so he can look at my daughter. The last few months I've been chatting to a friend more regularly than previous. We've been friends for over a decade and we used to be really close, but we slowly drifted apart. I should probably mention we are both men in our 40s. It's been great catching up with him, and honestly, I really needed a friend, so it's just been great. He's got a long-term girlfriend and 2 young children. A couple of months ago, we visited his house for the first time. He recently moved, and we weren't speaking much before that. Just an occasional comment on Facebook. And me, my 14-year-old son and 20-year-old daughter spent a few hours honestly just chatting about nothing, but in a good way, you know? While we were there, I noticed that he kept looking at my daughter out of the corner of his eye. I never really caught him fully looking, so I thought nothing of it, especially as he has known my kids for over a decade. I didn't mention it to my daughter as I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable if it was nothing. A couple of months went past and we visited them again. He kept talking to my daughter and not really to me, which is fine, but it just seemed odd when my daughter has really bad anxiety and she can't really hold a conversation, and she makes it clear when she's uncomfortable talking. He just seemed to keep looking at her and talking. Even if he was talking to me, He would just look at her. The final straw was last week. We visited them, and we've been having a heat wave, so we were all dressed in as minimal as possible. My daughter in a thin pair of skirts and a t-shirt, my son in a pair of athletic shorts and a gym top, and me in a polo shirt and white chino shorts. Nothing unusual, just basic summer wear. When we were in conversation, he would look at my daughter. When anyone told a joke, he would smirk a little or give a small laugh depending. But if my daughter told something mildly funny, he would really laugh to the point that even she would look awkward. He kept dropping out of conversation and just staring at her. I think she noticed it as well because she started to lean back in her chair to try to cover herself. Even though she was fine, she looked uncomfortable. Then when the sun set, she put on a thick jacket and zipped it up. I don't know if he's just trying to be friendly and he doesn't know how to act, or if he's only inviting us round to stare at her, and if so, then I don't know what to do. Yes, she's 20, but she's still my little girl, and this man watched her grow up. It just seems strange. I don't know if I should say something or just don't go around there again. Either way, I think it's the end of the friendship, which is a shame, but oh well. Update. I spoke to my daughter about the whole thing and wanted to know what she thought about it all because I didn't want to say anything if she didn't think it was odd. She told me that after the first time we saw him again a few months ago, he had appeared outside her work after she finished her shift and asked if she wanted a lift home instead of getting the bus. She said that since he was a good friend of mine, she trusted him and got in his car. On the ride home, he repeatedly touched her leg and started talking about how much she's changed since he saw her last before we all met up and how much of an adult she looks now. He told her she's growing into her body like a good girl. My daughter said that she would walk the rest of the way home because she didn't want to put him out too much, but he insisted on driving her all the way. She said she kept moving away from him, but he was leaning to touch her knees. She said that at a red light not long before the house, he gave her his mobile number and texted himself from her phone and told her to call him if she wanted a lift or anything else. Then when she got home, she went to leave the car, but he grabbed her arm and asked her where his hug and kiss goodbye was not a new thing. He gives us all a hug every time, and when she leaned in, he held her tight and whispered that she should call him. In the last few months since then, he has repeatedly been sending her explicit texts and images and waiting outside her work asking her if she would like a lift home, even though every time she said no. She said she didn't want to say anything because she didn't want to upset me as he was the only friend I had. I feel sick thinking about this. This is my daughter. She's 20, but she's still my little girl, and I feel like I've put her in danger. I've messaged him asking him to stop contacting my family, and I've sent him the screenshots from her phone as reasons why, but he is messaging me asking me why when she is an adult, and the only sleazy thing he's done is cheat on his girlfriend, as my daughter never physically said the word stop. She just ignored him. I'm so angry at him and myself. Edit. I'd like to say thanks to everyone for the advice. Also, I've been getting a lot of mom comments, and although I appreciate the sentiment very much, I am her dad. Unfortunately, her mom passed away quite a few years ago, but I really appreciate that everyone thought I was her mom. It really is the biggest compliment to me. I must be doing something right. We went and spoke to our local police, and they couldn't really help us as she had willingly gotten into his car. They did say that as we have spoken to him already, they could keep a file open, and if it continues, then they would be able to take action. Honestly, it seems that they don't really care about it at all, which is alarming and upsetting. We sent the screenshots and an explanation to his girlfriend, and we've had some missed calls from him, but that's not our problem. We've blocked him on everything and have completely removed him from every social media. My daughter has spoken to her work, and they have said that until she is able to find another job, they will ensure that at least one other member of staff will wait with her for the bus, and I will be meeting her at the first stop in our town to take her directly home on days I'm not working and on days I am. Then her grandparents will be picking her up. She is safe. I also had a lot of comments suggesting I get violent with this man. Although I do appreciate that a lot of people would be choosing the other route of resolving the problem face to face. I'm not like that. I'd like to be. I'd like to say that there's no problem I couldn't solve that way. But that's simply not me. It doesn't make me a bad dad either. I've found another way to solve the problem and make sure my daughter is safe and comfortable. Thank you all for your help and advice. It's nice to find some support through the internet sometimes. Next story. Would I be the butthole for telling my boyfriend that him being a Trump supporter gives me the ick? Hi y'all. New account because I don't really want anybody connecting this with me. I 20F started dating my boyfriend 21M about 2-ish months ago. We've known each other for approximately 3 years. We weren't initially interested in dating, but it kinda just happened, and things have been really well except for one thing. I found out he's a Trump supporter. Now, before you lecture me in the comments about how I shouldn't let politics get in the way of my relationship, please hear me out. It's just been a couple of things that have really rubbed me the wrong way about him for some reason. For context, I am a Hispanic female immigrant fled from a country where, if I can put it in simplest terms, went to crap, who's had nothing but bad experiences with Trump supporters because almost every single time without fail, they would always say or do something extremely demeaning to myself or my family, talking about how people like us should be deported without even realizing they are referring to us, saying that people like me are a threat to the country, etc. I consider myself the kind of person who judges a person's character based on what they believe in, and time again, it's been proved to me that these types of people are the type I should stay away from. On the day that Trump got convicted, we started talking politics, and he told me that he's not really a felon. The courts were unfair, there was bias, and he should have had a fair trial. Not exactly verbatim, but that's pretty much the point he made when I told him that Trump was a felon now. When we were watching The Boys as 4, and that one part where an old man was explaining to Newman that women can reject pregnancies, he agreed with that old man. When I explained to him that that's not how women work, he apologized to me. But I was still absolutely surprised that he didn't even understand such a basic thing about women. He has a sister, so it's not like he grew up without women in his life. We had a conversation about immigration, and he told me that all immigrants should be immediately deported. I told him that myself and my family are immigrants, and if that meant he wanted us to be deported, to which he said, "But you guys are legal, I'm talking about the illegal ones." I told him that this type of rhetoric makes me feel unsafe, and the conversation kinda just ended there. When we were having a conversation about the Trump-Epstein relationship, he told me that it was all a conspiracy, and that Trump isn't the type of person to do that. I brought up a bunch of examples of Trump being a predator, making the point that while being guilty by association isn't a thing, the other instances of him being a predator make this seem a lot more plausible. He told me that Trump never did any of that. And in a way, that kinda broke the camel's back for me, because I myself am a victim of sexual assault. And the nasty thought occurred to me that if I ever got assaulted, he probably wouldn't even believe me. That him standing behind someone I consider a rapist means that he condones Trump's actions, and by extension, the actions of the man who assaulted me. I don't know how he, who grew up with women, and has a girlfriend who he is fully aware of is Hispanic and an immigrant, has LGBTQ+ friends, and states that he loves people like me and his family, can even stand behind something like that. It makes me wonder if there's a side of him that he hasn't revealed to me yet, because this is a new relationship, and that makes me extremely uncomfortable. I'm asking if I would be the butthole for telling him that this gives me the ick because my own family is telling me that I shouldn't let politics get in the way of my relationship, that Trump wants people to fight each other, and that I shouldn't let Trump win. But I really don't know. Can I get some advice? Update. Hey y'all, update here. I didn't really expect my last post to blow up or for people to tell me that this is a justifiable reason for ending a relationship, so thank you for not being judgmental. A lot of people were asking me what country my family came from, So I'll just say it since don't think that's identifiable information. It's Venezuela. If you don't know what's happening there, then I envy you. Also shout out to those PPL who thought this was AI generated. I find it kinda sad that this has pretty much become the state of Reddit now. Like if you think something's AI, just don't engage with it. That's what people who post AI want from you. Don't let them win. Now on to the update. I spent the last couple of days with my dad who was visiting me, and deleting social media and muting a bunch of politics-related stuff because I've come to realize that regularly listening to people talk about how people like me ruin the country and how we don't belong here isn't really good for my mental health. And neither is dating someone who openly admits to supporting that group. So I talked to now ex-BF. I went to his room instead of inviting him to mine because I knew that if I let him in my room, he would just refuse to leave until he was convinced me. And I wanted to keep the power of removing myself from the situation at any time we live in a college dorm. Firstly, I should say that I admitted to him on the day that I made my first post that him supporting a known rapist is hurtful to me because him tolerating that behavior makes me question if he's tolerant of the boss who assaulted me, and thus I see him in a different light, and he sent a very long text message just telling me that it hurt his feelings and that he does care about me being sawed. I didn't really understand though, because he votes for a P***say grabber. It boiled down to, I feel terrible that you see me as the type of person who'd be okay with rape, because I'm not okay with it. I acknowledge that I might have been an to say that, so I started that conversation by apologizing to him and then following with me just telling him that I want to end the relationship and going back to being friends. I don't think I meant the friends part though. You can't have your cake and eat it. I can't be your friend if you affiliate yourself with a group of people who regularly crap on me. He tried to convince me to stay by saying that he really loved me and cared about me and respected my opinions, that we shouldn't let politics get in the way of our relationship. I responded that I can't change what he believes and that I value a person's beliefs and the group of people they associate with as a method of how I judge their character. I've already judged him. I don't like what I see, and therefore I've lost my feelings for him. He told me I was making a generalization. I told him that while it is true that I might be making a generalization, we can't change the fact that in this landscape of politics, many of my rights are in the chopping block, and that I am already starting to resent him for not really feeling listened to when I try to talk about how anxious it's making me. He told me that none of that stuff is going to happen, and that our different opinions shouldn't get in the way of our relationship. That he's voting for T**ump because he thinks he can fight inflation and cares about military members. I told him that while I can list a million reasons why that isn't true, that isn't relevant to the conversation. He then said that all his other relationships never consisted of talk about politics and that this was ridiculous. I pretty much told him that he can't have his cake and eat it. I can't date someone who associates with people who give me trouble, and that this won't be sustainable. Ending is better for the both of us. I realized that this conversation was going nowhere and decided to just leave. I told him to just give up on it already before leaving. He kept asking me to stay while he thought about what to say, but I didn't. I'm just done. I don't really feel sad. I feel so relieved. I'm going to leave social media for a while and just focus on myself for a while. I'm going to therapy too. I'll stick around to read your comments. I doubt how much longer I'll be able to respond though. If I go radio silent, then just take that as a sign that I am no longer on this app. Have a nice day. Next story. Landlord attached GPS tracker to my car without my consent or knowledge. Hello. A little background. My partner and I were getting the spare tire to my car unmounted from the bottom of the car when he discovered a circular magnetic device attached to the lip of the bumper of the car. We initially couldn't tell what it was, but after using Google Lens we discovered that it was a Lander C tracking device. When we discovered this, we were obviously worried, but I was especially worried because I had been stalked and attacked by an ex in November of last year. Thinking it belonged to him, We filed a police report and had them find out who the owner of the tracker was. To our surprise, the tracker was purchased by our landlord of about 3 years. Apparently, he has been checking our location periodically, and the device was live when we found it. It came as a huge shock to us because he seemed like a genuinely good person who has a family and who even helped us install floodlights and curtains to our home after I was attacked. The police have been trying to contact him to get some answers, but he has not returned their calls. It has only been a day though. Other than feeling unsafe in our own home, we also feel like it was a huge invasion of privacy and honestly a breach of trust. Again, our rapport with him seemed good and he seemed like a family man, so we just want to know what the future of our housing situation is going to be. I live in Oregon, so I know that there can be a case made in criminal court. My main question is, would I be able to sue him? Sorry if this seems all over the place, but I found this all out today and am still processing what is happening. Any advice would be much appreciated. Update. Wow, I can't believe it has been almost a year since I posted this. A lot has happened between now and then, and I could write a novel about these updates, but writing is not my strong suit, so I apologize if this update seems relatively brief. It's a long update, but a lot of things happened. So as some commenter guessed, it was my ex who assaulted me in November of 2022 who attached the GPS tracker to my car. My ex, from what I remember, used Reddit a lot, so I had to wait to give these updates. Did I mention that he was an ex that I haven't talked to in over 8 years? Anyway, the way he was caught and his behavior following being caught is absolutely unhinged. I posted this the day after the cops showed me that the GPS tracker was registered under my landlord's name, but it soon became very clear that my ex had used my landlord's identity to try and cover his tracks, and he almost got away with it. He put my landlord's name and address as the information for when you register the land, air, and sea tracker. The cops showed up to my landlord's home and essentially questioned him about the situation. Obviously, my landlord had nothing to hide, so he answered their questions, allowed them to search his wallet for any associated credit cards and his phone for any associated numbers. He obviously came up clean, and that's when the real investigating started. The tracker was linked to a track phone that my ex must have been using as a burner phone. It also requires you to make monthly payments via credit card, but he would use a prepaid Visa that had no name identity associated with it. He probably also paid cash for these prepaid cards. So all of this covering up, and you know what got him? A woman's voice. Thankfully, the police officer investigating the case took every avenue to catch him, which included setting up a mini sting operation. Since the only lead was the track phone, the officer had a female colleague call the phone number to try and bait him. The call went a little something like this. Her, "Hi, is this so-and-so?" Him, "Yes, who is this?" Her, "This is so-and-so from blank bar. We met the other night and you gave me your number. I just wanted to see if you wanted to hang out sometime." Him, "Oh yeah, I remember you. We should definitely meet up." And so on. The police believed that the recording of the call itself was enough evidence for probable cause, but they wanted to get him meeting her in person to really solidify the PC. They were texting back and forth for a while, but I think he eventually realized that it was too good to be true, and that the GPS monitor was no longer going anywhere other than the sheriff's office. He must have put 2 and 2 together and stopped. But not all hope was lost. The cop got voice verification from me and one other person that could verify that it was his voice. He was arrested for identity theft and illegally affixing a GPS monitor to my car. Both can be considered a felony since I had a protective order against him. The process of arresting him and indicting him was no walk in the park though. They gave him the opportunity to turn himself instead of being arrested by an officer or being picked up. Well, when he realized the trouble he was in, he checked himself into a mental hospital, which was a loophole for him to not be taken into custody, and which meant a mountain of paperwork and work for the DA's office to get charges seen before a grand jury. My experience going through the DA's office could be a whole other thread, but I will spare you the details. The grand jury eventually indicts him on both counts and I awaited trial. That should be the end of the story, right? Wrong. Not even 2 months after he is indicted, I see him outside my house. I was driving home from a date night with my partner, and we took a different road than we would normally take home because we saw some cute ducks in a neighbor's yard and it caused us to take a detour. Well, thankfully we detoured that day, because as we were about to rear the corner of the road we live on, we saw him. It was broad daylight, and he wasn't even trying to hide his identity, it seemed like. In fact, he just looked like a normal guy walking around the neighborhood. At first, I thought I was just seeing things because I didn't think he would be that careless to be that close to my house after everything. He had a no-contact order against him that requires he not be within 500 feet of my home or vehicle, which he was within. As we turn the corner and I start noticing him, he notices us and immediately turns himself so his back facing us and just kind of pauses, acting like he's looking at something, probably hoping we don't notice that it's him. I tell my partner to stop the car, and when we stop he starts speed walking the opposite direction of where our car was headed. We circled back around to verify that it was him, but at that point he had disappeared into the bushes. We slowly start to head back towards the road we live on, trying to see if we can spot him. As we keep going, he pops out of the bushes about 10 feet ahead of us, makes direct eye contact with us, and then starts sprinting up the road. We head his direction to try and get pictures of him. We are able to get 2 blurry pictures of him, but probably not enough to verify completely that it was him. I filed a police report and talked to his PO about what happened. The PO had him come in and get a GPS monitor anklet pending investigation. I also reached out to the cop that helped me with the GPS tracker and assault case. He helped me go to every neighbor's house and ask for video evidence of creepy stalker X. Some neighbors didn't answer, other places didn't have anything, but the place with the bushes, they had a picture of video of him clear as day crouching in their bushes. Needless to say, he is currently in jail facing multiple charges against him. I want to delve into more detail about the justice system and my grief with it, but for now I will just end on a positive update. Thank you to those who gave me advice and showed actual concern. To those who commented that this was an ad for Land Air Sea tracking device, piss off. I also want to acknowledge the cop who has been helping me ever since I was first attacked. He saw me right after I was assaulted in 2022 and saw how shaken up I was. He went out of his way to do a sting operation on the GPS tracker, and he went door to door to find video evidence of my stalker. I don't think the average cop would do half the work he has done, and I will be forever grateful for that. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel James Stories.